There was a time I cried in the grocery store. Not because I was sad, but because I couldn't afford everything in my cart. That was the day I decided something had to change. Hi, my name is Emily Parker. I'm a 34-year-old homemaker living in a small 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, New York, with my husband Christopher and our adorable twin girls, Sophie and Clara, who just turned 5 last spring. Every morning, my day begins at 6:30 a.m., when the soft light of dawn peeks through our thin white curtains. I roll out of bed, rub the sleep from my eyes, and quietly tiptoe into the kitchen so I don't wake the girls. Christopher is usually still asleep at this time. His part-time job at the local hardware store starts at 9. The first thing I do is put on a pot of coffee. The smell fills the air. It's like my signal that the day has begun. Then I start preparing breakfast. Usually scrambled eggs, toast, and a bit of fruit for the girls. Sometimes pancakes if it's the weekend. At 7:15, I gently wake the twins. Sophie always smiles first thing in the morning. Clara needs a bit more coaxing. Once they're dressed and fed, I pack a small snack for their morning preschool. Christopher joins us at the table around 7:30, still in his worn-out flannel shirt and faded jeans. We don't have much, but we have each other. And for a while, that felt like enough. After Christopher heads out to work, I clean up the breakfast dishes, sweep the kitchen floor, and start the laundry. I fold tiny dresses, wash stained socks, and sigh at the never-ending pile of clothes. By late morning, I'm usually done with the chores. I might take a few minutes to scroll through Facebook, check out new recipes, or water the small potted plants I keep by the window. My little green sanctuary in the middle of the city. It's not a glamorous life, but it's ours. But let me be honest, behind the calm rhythm of my days, there was a growing storm I couldn't ignore. Living in New York is expensive. Rent, groceries, utilities, everything felt like it was climbing higher and higher, while Christopher's paycheck stayed the same. He works 25-30 hours a week at the store, and although he's hardworking, the wages barely cover the basics. Some months, when unexpected expenses came up, like a doctor's visit or a broken appliance, we'd end up using credit cards just to stay afloat. I started to dread grocery shopping. Every trip felt like a test of my math skills and my nerves. Prices had gone up so much that even milk and eggs felt like luxuries. There were nights I sat at the kitchen table with my notebook, staring at our expenses, trying to figure out how to stretch every dollar. I'd cut coupons, compare prices, and still somehow at the end of the month, the numbers wouldn't add up. I felt like I was stuck in a loop, cleaning, cooking, managing the house, caring for the kids, while the weight of our finances pressed harder and harder on my shoulders. Sometimes, I'd lie awake at night worrying, will we ever save enough for emergencies? What if something happens to Christopher's job? How can I give my girls the childhood they deserve? There were moments I felt like I was failing as a wife and mother. Not because I didn't try, but because no matter how hard I worked, the numbers didn't change. I knew something had to give. I couldn't keep running in circles like this. One afternoon, after paying a particularly high electricity bill, I sat down with a notebook and decided to make a plan. I asked myself, what if I treat this like a real job? My job as a home financial manager. So I listed every single expense: rent, food, utilities, subscriptions, clothes, gas, everything. Then I looked for patterns. Where were we overspending? What could we change? It was overwhelming at first. But slowly, as I reviewed the numbers, I began to see opportunities, small adjustments that could make a big difference. I told Christopher about my idea. He smiled and said, "If anyone can figure this out, it's you." That encouragement was all I needed. Over the next few weeks, I experimented, failed, tried again, and eventually I discovered 5 powerful strategies that helped us cut our monthly expenses by nearly 50%. It wasn't easy, but it changed our lives. Strategy 1: meal planning and smart grocery shopping. The first thing I tackled was our food budget. I realized we were wasting money by buying on impulse, grabbing snacks, trying new recipes without checking what we already had. So I started meal planning every Sunday. I'd sit with a notepad, write down meals for the week, and make a shopping list based on that. I checked the pantry and freezer to avoid duplicates. Then I downloaded the Flip and Ibotta apps to find weekly deals and coupons. I learned to buy store brands instead of name brands, and I focused on seasonal produce, which is always cheaper. The first month I tried this, I saved over $150. More importantly, I stopped throwing away spoiled food. Cooking became easier too. I always knew what we were eating, and I felt less stressed about last-minute dinners. Strategy 2. Cut subscriptions you don't use. Next, I reviewed our bank statements and was shocked by how many subscriptions we were paying for. We had Netflix, Disney+, a gym membership I hadn't used in a year, and a couple of apps I didn't even remember subscribing to. I used Rocket Money to track them all, and within a day, I canceled over 70 months in unnecessary subscriptions. We kept only what we truly used, and I shared a few accounts with my sister to save more. It felt so freeing, like I was taking control back from all those little leaks draining our budget. Strategy 3. Energy and utility hacks. Then I focused on our utilities. I replaced old light bulbs with LEDs, started washing clothes in cold water, and opened the blinds during the day to rely less on lights. We invested in a smart thermostat. I found a used one online for cheap, and set it to lower temperatures when we were out or asleep. I also started unplugging appliances when not in use. Those little energy vampires really add up. Within 2 billing cycles, our electricity and gas bills dropped by nearly 20%. It may seem small, but in a city where every dollar counts, that was a big win. Strategy 4. Plan big purchases and buy secondhand. Before, I used to buy things as soon as we needed them. A new chair, go to the store. A blender broke, order from Amazon. Now I plan big purchases months ahead and wait for seasonal sales like Black Friday or Memorial Day. I also discovered Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp, where people sell gently used items at a fraction of the cost. One of my proudest finds was a beautiful wooden dining table for just $60. It looked brand new. I learned that buying secondhand isn't just smart, it's sustainable. And honestly, it made me feel resourceful. Strategy 5. Track every dollar and set weekly spending goals. Finally, the most powerful change. I started tracking every dollar. I downloaded YNAB and began recording every expense, no matter how small. I also created weekly budgets instead of monthly ones. It made me feel more in control. When I saw where the money was going, I noticed small leaks I hadn't realized before, like frequent coffee runs or extra snacks for the kids. By setting weekly limits, I could adjust faster instead of waiting until the end of the month to realize we'd overspent. This step gave me clarity and confidence. I finally felt like I was steering the ship, not just reacting to waves. The first few months were challenging. It took discipline to stick to the plan, and there were days I felt like giving up. But slowly, the changes began to show. Our grocery bills shrank, utility costs dropped, our credit card balance started to fall. For the first time in years, we even managed to set aside a small emergency fund. More importantly, I felt peace. Now every morning, I prepare breakfast with a light heart. Christopher and I talk about our goals instead of our worries. The twins laugh and play, and I feel proud knowing I'm giving them stability. Some evenings, after putting the girls to bed, I sit by the window with a cup of tea, watching the city lights twinkle. I no longer feel overwhelmed. I feel empowered. We didn't win the lottery. We didn't get a raise. We just learned to live smarter, not harder. If you're listening to my story and feeling like you're drowning in expenses, please know you're not alone. I was there too, tired, anxious, and frustrated. But the truth is, small steps lead to big change. Start with one habit. Plan your meals, cancel a subscription, track your spending. You don't need to do it all at once, just begin. Over time, those small wins will build momentum. You'll feel stronger, more confident, and more at peace. Being a homemaker isn't just about keeping a clean house, it's about managing a home, nurturing a family, and building a foundation for the future. And you, dear listener, are capable of so much more than you think. If I can cut our expenses by 50% and bring stability to our little home in New York, so can you. Take control, believe in yourself, because a smart plan and a determined heart can change everything. If my story touched your heart or gave you hope, please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with another mom who might be struggling like I once did. And tell me in the comments, which of these tips will you try first? Don't forget to subscribe so we can walk this journey of smart family finance together.